Many consumers across the country are accidentally feeding their families potentially harmful industrial chemicals along with their Friday night spaghetti bolognese dinners, without even realizing the danger. Millions of 400-gram tins of chopped tomatoes move off United Kingdom supermarket shelves every single year. Consumers throw them into curries and bubble them down into rich pasta sauces and spoon them over a morning fry-up without giving the preparation process a second thought. Behind those bright and rustic Italian labels sitting on your kitchen shelf right now exists a grim reality that nobody in the food industry is discussing loudly enough. 9 specific brands currently sold in every major United Kingdom supermarket are cutting corners in specific ways that compromise manufacturing ethics and product quality, and potentially your long-term health. Only 2 of these available options are actually safe to put in your shopping trolley. You need to know exactly which product is which, and why the difference truly matters for the well-being of everyone living in your household. Before naming the specific offending companies, you need to understand why this material contamination matters at all. Historically, many food storage tins were coated on the inside with a chemical substance called bisphenol A, or BPA, though the vast majority of manufacturers have now transitioned to alternative metal linings. That chemical lining exists to stop the metal packaging from rusting, which sounds reasonable enough on the surface. Tomatoes are highly acidic, and that natural acid actively eats at the protective tin lining, leaching BPA chemicals straight into the food you are about to cook with for dinner. BPA is scientifically classified as an endocrine disruptor. It interferes with your body's hormones, and medical studies link regular chemical exposure to blood pressure spikes, fertility issues, and neurological damage. These are not minor physical side effects, and they are not something consumers should quietly accept from food manufacturers. When a specific brand gets publicly called out for using BPA, the corporate reaction is highly predictable. Manufacturers simply swap the compound for BPS, which stands for bisphenol S. This replacement chemical features a similar chemical structure and the same documented health risks, but uses a different letter for identification. Marketing departments print BPA-free on the front label in big and reassuring text, add a small price premium to the cost, and carry on their manufacturing exactly as before. That is the marketing game they play, and the situation gets worse from there, because the cheap end of the grocery market is not even using real fresh tomatoes. Budget producers take concentrated tomato paste, pump regular water back into it, and then add firming agents like calcium chloride and acidity regulators like citric acid to give the final product some semblance of body and flavor. This approach fails every single time, and you are the consumer paying the price for it. We must identify the specific offending brands. The first offending brand is Heinz chopped tomatoes. Heinz is a recognized British kitchen staple and is culturally beloved, but it is deeply disappointing as a tinned tomato product. Heinz offers zero transparency regarding what specific chemical substance coats the inside of those metal cans. Processing levels are high, and the natural sweetness that makes a good tomato worth cooking with is simply absent from the finished product. You are paying a high premium purely for a recognized brand name. There is zero actual substance hiding behind that label, as the product relies entirely on brand nostalgia and a higher price tag. Moving to the next brand, Mutti earns its high Italian reputation through its glass jar products, which are perfectly acceptable options. The tinned range they sell in standard supermarkets is actually cold crushed and minimally processed to retain a rich and pulpy texture. But Mutti does not explicitly confirm their United Kingdom tins are free of BPA anywhere on the physical packaging. When you are spending top price for a premium commercial product, that lack of communication regarding chemical safety is not acceptable. Next is Napolina, whose corporate marketing campaigns proudly label this product the United Kingdom's #1 option. Blind consumer taste tests deliver a decidedly mixed verdict on the actual quality. Some testers note an acidic edge that heavily resembles a standard canned tomato product. Many home cooks end up adding spoonfuls of white sugar just to correct the sourness that Napolina introduces into their pasta sauce. This represents an expensive culinary correction for a flavor problem that should never have existed in the first place. Then we have Prince's, which is owned by the exact same parent company as Napolina, and the quality gap between the two related products is negligible. They possess 0 organic certification. They do offer full supply chain transparency by providing QR codes on the paper label that detail pesticide management and ethical worker tracking. What arrives inside the actual tin are freshly harvested tomatoes, though they are often paired with a metallic aftertaste that lingers long after the dinner meal has finished, which is a classic issue with cheaper tins. The standard Tesco 400-gram own-brand tin lives in millions of British kitchens, which makes discussing this specific product particularly uncomfortable. No BPA-free safety confirmation exists anywhere on the printed packaging, and a BBC investigation published in December 2024 raised serious questions about forced labor in Chinese tomato supply chains linked to major United Kingdom supermarkets. Tesco have not provided satisfying answers on this specific issue. The occurrence of these specific supply chain practices should concern every responsible consumer. Over at the Asda own-brand product, shoppers find the exact same price point and the exact same manufacturing problems. Taste tests often produce a specific result with Asda's version, revealing a rather bland flavor profile that lacks the natural sweetness and depth of high-quality tomatoes. The retail price feels like a bargain right up until you understand what the manufacturing compromise actually involves for your personal health. Looking at the Morrisons own brand, we find that Morrisons relies heavily on citric acid, which is an added acidity regulator used to extend shelf life and mask poor-grade tomatoes. The result is a product completely stripped of the natural and rounded sweetness that makes tomatoes worth cooking with. Adding excessive commercial citric acid throws off the natural balance of sweetness and makes the cooked tomatoes overly tart every single time you use them. Moving down the supermarket aisle to the Ocado own brand, the reality is unpleasant because Ocado positions itself with high prestige while actively price-matching the standard supermarket shelf. The basic own-brand tin tomatoes they sell actually won a Best Bargain Award in a recent 2025 expert culinary review. One well-known United Kingdom food critic described them plainly as highly offensive, noting they are pale and lack flesh and remain harshly acidic. For a brand charging a premium for elevated prestige, this quality level is completely unacceptable, and the final verdict is an outright embarrassment. Finally, we evaluate essential Waitrose. Consumers expect Waitrose to have the decency to get tinned tomatoes right, but they have failed to do so. The essential range is heavily inconsistent across production batches and is more expensive than every other supermarket own brand on this list. Yet it delivers zero meaningful upgrade in lining safety, tomato concentration, or actual flavor. There is no logical reason to pay extra for this product, as they are essentially just expensive water. They resemble slightly acidic and expensive water with an upmarket font printed on the label. The good news is that there are 3 specific examples of brands that actually get this right, And you should remember these 3 specific names for your next shopping trip. Starting with Sainsbury's Italian chopped tomatoes. The standard Italian chopped tomatoes cans are unfortunately still lined with BPA-containing resins. Sainsbury's does not explicitly mention the can lining material on its Italian chopped tomatoes packaging anywhere. That specific packaging commitment immediately puts them ahead of every supermarket rival named above. The tomato chunks are consistent, the juice carries no metallic edge whatsoever, and at a budget price point, nothing else on the standard supermarket shelf comes close to matching what they offer. Sainsbury's looked at what their direct competitors were doing and chose to execute the product properly instead. The next option is Cirio Polpa. If authentic Italian flavor without the chemical dread is what your home cooking actually needs, Cirio is the proper answer for your kitchen cupboard. They win United Kingdom taste tests repeatedly, and the reason is straightforward, as the tomatoes inside are properly fleshy. They feature real and substantial chunks with juice that achieves a natural balance of sweetness and acidity, requiring no corrective white sugar whatsoever. Cirio also processes their tomatoes at low temperatures, which keeps the nutritional profile intact rather than cooking it into submission. If you are making aubergine bakes or courgette stews several nights a week, that integrity in the base ingredient makes a concrete difference to the finished dish. The top recommendation is Biona Organic, which is carefully packaged in glass. This is the gold standard of the entire United Kingdom grocery market, and the argument for buying it is distinctly simple. Glass jars, available at 680 grams, carry vastly reduced risks of chemical leaching. Glass holds safely above 100 degrees Celsius, meaning even a rolling simmer involves no chemical exchange happening before the jar has even opened. Turning the jar around reveals a short list of ingredients, which includes only organic tomatoes and organic tomato juice. There are no firming agents, no citric acid, no synthetic pesticides, and no chemical fertilizers, meaning nothing requires a chemistry degree to interpret. The product contains just 2 ingredients, whereas every other brand on this list has something to hide behind a longer ingredients panel. Biona simply does not hide anything. That is the whole product, and it is all the product needs to be. The United Kingdom tinned tomato market is flooded with brands prioritizing shelf life and brand recognition and cheap manufacturing over the integrity of what ends up in your daily food. Consumers should choose Sainsbury's Italian chopped tomatoes for the budget shop, Cirio Polpa for the flavor-first cook, and Biona Organic in glass when they want to eliminate every possible health risk entirely. The next time you reach for a familiar label in the supermarket, you should stop and flip the tin over to read what is actually in it. Your Friday night pasta deserves better than reconstituted paste and a side of endocrine disruption. And after hearing these facts, you deserve better as well.